I'd just like to make the point that we're very fortunate that His Majesty has allowed us to use Buckingham Palace for this event, and I need to say that.
For years, many people believe the most powerful figure standing beside King Charles III was the woman wearing the crown. Yet behind the gilded ceremonies, the state banquets, and the carefully choreographed royal appearances, a very different story may be unfolding. One decision, made quietly inside the walls of Buckingham Palace, has triggered intense discussion among royal observers, constitutional experts, and even longtime supporters of the monarchy. The question is simple, but the answer could reshape how we understand power inside the royal family. Why has King Charles placed such extraordinary trust in one person above everyone else? When the headlines first appeared, many people assumed this was simply another routine royal adjustment, the kind of administrative change that rarely captures public attention. After all, the British monarchy is filled with ceremonial titles, constitutional procedures, and ancient traditions that often seem far removed from everyday life. Yet the deeper royal commentators examined this particular development, the more significant it appeared. What seemed at first like a practical decision suddenly looked like something much larger, something that revealed how King Charles may truly view the future stability of the monarchy. The center of the story is none other than Princess Anne, a royal figure who has spent most of her life avoiding the spotlight rather than seeking it. Unlike younger members of the royal family, who frequently dominate newspaper covers and television discussions, Princess Anne built a reputation through relentless service, discipline, and consistency. For decades, Princess Anne carried out hundreds of royal engagements every year with remarkably little publicity. Yet suddenly, the same woman who often worked outside the headlines appears to have become one of the most important figures in the entire institution. And that raises a fascinating question. Why now? To understand why royal watchers are paying such close attention, it helps to look at what actually happened. Reports indicate that responsibilities traditionally associated with the monarch's constitutional role have increasingly highlighted Princess Anne's position as one of the most trusted members of the royal household. While many members of the public naturally focus on royal titles, palaces, and ceremonial appearances, the real machinery of constitutional monarchy operates in a much quieter world. It involves briefings, state papers, government communications, and responsibilities that rarely make front-page news. The people granted access to that world are not chosen casually. That is precisely why this moment has attracted so much attention. If King Charles wanted merely to reward loyalty, there were many ways to do so. If King Charles wanted to make a symbolic gesture, there were countless ceremonial opportunities available. Instead, observers believe this decision carries a deeper message about trust, reliability, and long-term institutional stability. In other words, King Charles may be revealing which member of the royal family he believes can be relied upon when circumstances become genuinely difficult. But before we go further, let me ask you something. When you think about influence inside the modern monarchy, who comes to mind first? Is it Prince William, the future king? Is it Catherine, Princess of Wales, whose popularity remains extraordinarily high? Is it Queen Camilla, who stands beside King Charles at major state occasions? Or would you have guessed Princess Anne? For many viewers, the answer is probably not Princess Anne, and that is exactly what makes the story so intriguing. Unlike figures who attract constant media attention, Princess Anne has spent decades building something far more valuable within royal circles: credibility. Former palace staff, royal historians, and commentators frequently point to Princess Anne's reputation for professionalism. While public debates often focus on image, popularity, and public relations, institutions tend to prioritize something else entirely. They prioritize dependability. When a crisis emerges, when difficult decisions must be made, and when continuity becomes essential, reliability suddenly becomes more important than celebrity. Interestingly, this reputation did not appear overnight. Princess Anne earned it through years of service stretching back to the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Throughout changing governments, shifting political climates, international tours, and family controversies, Princess Anne developed a reputation for remaining focused on duty regardless of circumstances. That consistency may now be paying dividends in ways few people anticipated. And this is where the story becomes even more compelling. The timing of King Charles's decision cannot be ignored. The monarch has openly discussed health challenges, something previous generations of royals rarely did so publicly. At the same time, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has also been navigating her own recovery journey. Meanwhile, Prince William continues balancing royal responsibilities with family obligations and preparation for his future role as king. Taken together, these realities create a monarchy operating under significant pressure. Could it be that King Charles looked around the institution and identified Princess, and as the one figure capable of providing immediate stability without creating additional complications? Many royal observers believe exactly that. Yet another question quickly emerges. If Princess, and has become such a central figure behind the scenes, what does that say about the balance of influence among other senior royals? More importantly, what does it reveal about how King Charles views the next phase of his reign? Those questions become even more intriguing when we examine the remarkable preparation Princess and received long before this moment arrived. Because according to many historians, the foundations for Princess Anne's rise were not built recently at all. They may have been carefully laid decades ago by Queen Elizabeth herself. And once we look at those decades of preparation, the entire story begins to look very different indeed. Before we continue, if you enjoy thoughtful royal family analysis that goes beyond the headlines, be sure to subscribe and join the conversation. Because what happened next may reveal that Princess Anne's current influence was never accidental, and the evidence leading back to Queen Elizabeth is far more revealing than most people realize. The deeper royal significance of Princess Anne's rise becomes even clearer when we look beyond the headlines and examine a question that many viewers may not have considered yet. What if this was never simply about filling a temporary gap in the monarchy? What if King Charles III was acting on a plan that had been quietly developing for decades, long before anyone was discussing health challenges, succession pressures, or the future responsibilities of Prince William, the future king? That possibility changes the entire conversation. Many royal historians have pointed out that Princess Anne's current position did not emerge suddenly. Unlike political leaders who rise through campaigns or public popularity, members of the royal family build influence through trust accumulated over many years. In that respect, Princess Anne possesses something that few other royals can match. Princess Anne experienced nearly every major constitutional challenge faced by the modern monarchy alongside Queen Elizabeth II. Princess Anne observed state visits, diplomatic negotiations, Commonwealth relationships, governmental transitions, and countless moments when the crown had to balance tradition with modernization. While newspapers often focused on more dramatic royal stories, Princess Anne was quietly acquiring something far more valuable: institutional memory. Think about that for a moment. How many people alive today have spent decades observing the inner workings of the monarchy at the highest possible level while remaining largely free from controversy, factional rivalry, or public disputes? The number is remarkably small. That reality alone helps explain why King Charles III may place such extraordinary confidence in Princess Anne. Yet there is another factor that makes Princess Anne uniquely qualified, and it is one that many royal commentators believe is often overlooked. Unlike figures whose future status depends on moving closer to the throne, Princess Anne has no realistic path to becoming monarch. At first glance, that may sound unimportant, but within royal institutions it can be enormously significant. Because when responsibility is given to someone who has no personal ambition attached to succession, that responsibility becomes easier to trust. Princess Anne does not need additional titles. Princess Anne does not need greater prominence. Princess Anne does not need public campaigns designed to strengthen a future claim. The work itself becomes the priority. Could that be exactly what King Charles III was looking for? Many observers believe it is. After all, the current generation of senior royals faces an unusually complicated landscape. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, remains focused on preparing for eventual kingship while also supporting Catherine, Princess of Wales, during a period that has required enormous personal resilience. Kate Middleton's recovery journey has understandably shifted priorities toward family life and stability. At the same time, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are growing up under extraordinary public scrutiny. Against that backdrop, Adding additional constitutional burdens to Prince William's responsibilities could create challenges that neither King Charles III nor Kensington Palace wishes to accelerate. That is where Princess Anne's role becomes especially interesting. Instead of forcing Prince William to absorb every available responsibility immediately, Princess Anne provides something incredibly valuable: time. Time for Prince William to prepare thoughtfully. Time for Catherine, Princess of Wales, to focus on recovery and public duties at an appropriate pace. Time for the future generation of the monarchy to develop without being overwhelmed by circumstances beyond their control. But if Princess Anne represents stability today, another question naturally follows. Who prepared Princess Anne for this role? The answer brings us directly back to Queen Elizabeth II. For decades, Queen Elizabeth II repeatedly entrusted Princess Anne with sensitive assignments throughout the Commonwealth and beyond. These were not simply ceremonial appearances designed to generate photographs. Many of these visits required diplomacy, judgment, and the ability to represent the crown in situations where mistakes could carry real consequences. Looking back now, some historians argue that Queen Elizabeth II may have been giving Princess Anne an education in statecraft that few people fully recognized at the time. And if that interpretation is correct, then Princess Anne's current influence becomes much easier to understand. Rather than being a sudden elevation, Princess Anne's position may actually be the culmination of a lifetime of preparation. Every engagement, every overseas mission, every difficult assignment, and every year of service may have contributed to a reputation that King Charles III now views as indispensable. Let me ask you something. Do you think Queen Elizabeth II always knew that Princess Anne would eventually become one of the monarchy's most trusted guardians? Or do you believe circumstances simply pushed Princess Anne into a larger role than anyone originally anticipated? The answer matters because it leads directly to another fascinating layer of the story. As Princess Anne's influence has grown, many royal watchers have begun comparing Princess Anne's position with that of other senior royals, particularly Queen Camilla. While Queen Camilla occupies one of the most visible positions within the royal family, visibility and constitutional influence are not necessarily the same thing. That distinction may reveal far more about the internal structure of the monarchy than many people realize. And in the next part of the story, we need to examine why some observers believe the contrast between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla tells us something much bigger about King Charles III's vision for the future of the crown. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe and join the discussion below, because the next chapter takes us into one of the most intriguing and least understood power dynamics inside the modern royal family, and what it may reveal could surprise even longtime royal followers. What makes this story particularly fascinating is that the conversation is no longer centered on titles alone. The deeper question now being discussed by royal commentators is whether King Charles III has quietly revealed the difference between ceremonial prominence and operational trust. Those two things may sound similar from the outside, but within a constitutional monarchy, they can be very different realities. And once that distinction becomes visible, the role of Princess Anne begins to look even more extraordinary. For generations, public attention naturally gravitated toward the most visible members of the royal family. Crowns, state banquets, international tours, balcony appearances, and major ceremonies became the images that defined public understanding of royal life. Yet institutions rarely operate according to visibility alone. Behind every public institution, there are individuals responsible for continuity, stability, and decision-making when circumstances become difficult. In recent months, many royal observers have suggested that King Charles III may have identified Princess Anne as precisely that kind of figure. That observation becomes even more significant when compared with Queen Camilla's position within the monarchy. Now, it is important to emphasize that Queen Camilla remains one of the most senior figures in the royal family. Queen Camilla accompanies King Charles III during major state occasions, diplomatic events, and international engagements. Queen Camilla occupies a highly respected and visible role within the institution. Yet royal analysts frequently point out that visibility does not automatically translate into constitutional authority. In fact, some historians argue that the British monarchy has always separated symbolic influence from practical responsibility. Could that be exactly what we are witnessing today? When King Charles III appears beside Queen Camilla at state events, the public sees the ceremonial face of the monarchy. Yet when discussions turn toward trusted advisors, institutional guardians, and figures capable of maintaining continuity during uncertain periods, Princess Anne's name appears again and again. That contrast has become impossible for many royal watchers to ignore. And here is where the story becomes even more layered. The relationship between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla exists within a historical context that stretches back decades. Long before Queen Camilla became Queen Consort, long before King Charles III ascended the throne, and long before current discussions about succession and constitutional responsibilities emerged, the lives of Princess Anne and Camilla intersected through personal relationships and royal history in ways that many viewers may not fully appreciate. While historians continue debating the significance of those earlier connections, the modern reality is far more important. Today, Queen Camilla represents the public partnership beside King Charles III, while Princess Anne increasingly appears to represent institutional trust behind the scenes. Those are two very different forms of influence. Let me ask you something. If you were leading an institution facing one of the most challenging periods in recent memory, would you prioritize visibility, or would you prioritize proven reliability developed over decades of service? That question may help explain why so many royal commentators view Princess Anne's current position as one of the most revealing developments of King Charles III's reign. Yet the story does not stop there. Perhaps the most telling reaction has come from Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Unlike situations where rising influence can create rivalry or tension, there has been little indication of competition surrounding Princess Anne's growing prominence. In fact, several royal observers have noted that Prince William appears remarkably comfortable with Princess and occupying a larger role within the institution. That detail matters more than many people realize. Prince William understands better than almost anyone what awaits in the future. Prince William knows that becoming monarch is not merely about prestige. Becoming monarch means inheriting immense responsibility, relentless scrutiny, and constitutional obligations that never truly disappear. From that perspective, Princess Anne's willingness to shoulder additional responsibilities may be viewed not as a challenge to Prince William's future position, but as valuable support during a particularly demanding period. At the same time, Catherine, Princess of Wales, continues rebuilding her public schedule while balancing family priorities. Kate Middleton remains one of the most admired members of the royal family, but royal life has recently required an enormous degree of resilience from Catherine, Princess of Wales. In that environment, Princess Anne's experience and dependability may provide exactly the kind of stability that both Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, appreciate. But there is another piece of this puzzle that deserves closer attention. Many people assume influence inside the monarchy is created through dramatic moments. In reality, influence is often built through thousands of smaller decisions made over decades. A successful state visit, a sensitive diplomatic mission, an ability to navigate difficult situations without generating controversy, a reputation for placing duty above personal recognition. Those qualities rarely dominate headlines, yet over time they create something incredibly powerful: trust. And trust, more than popularity, may be the true currency of monarchy. So as public attention continues focusing on succession, on Prince William's future, on Catherine, Princess of Wales, on Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, and on Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, another story may be unfolding quietly in the background. That story concerns the royal figure who never demanded attention, never built a personal brand, and never appeared interested in expanding personal influence, yet somehow became one of the most trusted people in the entire institution. The question is whether this moment represents the peak of Princess Anne's influence, or whether something even more significant is still ahead. Because once we examine the remarkable signals left behind by Queen Elizabeth II during the final years of her reign, a compelling possibility begins to emerge. What if Queen Elizabeth II anticipated this exact scenario long before the public ever saw it coming? What if the groundwork for Princess Anne's rise was not merely encouraged, but deliberately secured through changes that would shape the monarchy for years to come? Before we continue, make sure you subscribe and share your thoughts below, because the next chapter takes us directly into the decisions made during Queen Elizabeth II's final years, and those decisions may reveal that Princess Anne's current position was never temporary at all. What makes Queen Elizabeth II's final years so fascinating in hindsight is that many of the decisions made during that period appeared routine at the time, yet now seem loaded with significance. Looking back, some royal historians believe Queen Elizabeth II was not simply managing the present. Queen Elizabeth II may have been quietly preparing the monarchy for challenges that had not fully emerged yet. And if that interpretation is correct, then Princess Anne's current position was not an unexpected development at all. It was the result of a carefully constructed safety net designed to protect the institution long after Queen Elizabeth II was gone. The most intriguing part of this theory is that the evidence was visible the entire time. During the later years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, conversations inside the monarchy increasingly focused on continuity. The royal family was entering a period of transition unlike anything seen in generations. King Charles III was preparing to inherit the throne after decades as heir apparent. Prince William, the future king, was assuming greater public responsibilities. Catherine, Princess of Wales, was becoming one of the most influential figures in modern royal history. At the same time, Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, and Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, were moving on to a very different path outside traditional royal structures. Against that backdrop, Queen Elizabeth II faced an important question. Who could be trusted to provide stability if unexpected pressures emerged during the next reign? Many royal commentators believe Queen Elizabeth II already knew the answer. For decades, Princess Anne had demonstrated a quality that institutions value above almost everything else: predictability under pressure. While public attention shifted from one royal headline to another, Princess Anne maintained the same work ethic year after year. Unlike public popularity, which rises and falls, consistency compounds over time. By the time Queen Elizabeth II reached the final chapter of her reign, Princess Anne's reputation had become almost unmatched within royal circles. But here is where the story becomes even more compelling. In 2022, changes involving councillors of state attracted relatively little public attention compared with other royal news. Yet constitutional experts immediately understood the importance of what was happening. The adjustments strengthened the monarchy's ability to function smoothly if senior figures became unavailable. Importantly, Princess Anne became even more firmly embedded within the constitutional framework supporting the crown. At first glance, that might sound like a technical administrative matter. In reality, it may have been one of the most important institutional decisions of Queen Elizabeth II's final year. Why? Because constitutional monarchies depend on preparedness. Unlike political systems that can rapidly elect new leaders, monarchies rely heavily on continuity and orderly succession. Queen Elizabeth II spent more than 70 years understanding those realities better than almost anyone alive. Therefore, when Queen Elizabeth II supported measures that elevated Princess Anne's constitutional relevance, many observers interpreted the move as a profound expression of confidence. Let me ask you something. If Queen Elizabeth II had concerns about the monarchy's future resilience, would Queen Elizabeth II have chosen someone untested to help safeguard the institution? Or would Queen Elizabeth II have chosen the royal figure with decades of proven experience? That question leads directly to another remarkable detail. Throughout the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, Princess Anne was repeatedly entrusted with difficult assignments that rarely generated dramatic headlines, but often carried significant diplomatic importance. Whether dealing with Commonwealth relationships, international engagements, charitable organizations, or sensitive ceremonial responsibilities, Princess Anne developed a reputation for handling complexity without attracting unnecessary controversy. That combination is surprisingly rare. Many public figures become famous because of visibility. Princess Anne became respected because of reliability. And when King Charles III inherited the throne, that distinction suddenly mattered more than ever. Consider the broader context. King Charles III entered the throne during a period of immense change. Public expectations were evolving. Media scrutiny was more intense than ever. The royal family was adapting to new realities while preserving centuries-old traditions. Simultaneously, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, were preparing for responsibilities that would eventually define an entire era of monarchy. Under those circumstances, King Charles III did not necessarily need another headline-making royal figure. King Charles III needed someone capable of reinforcing institutional stability from behind the scenes. Many royal watchers believe Princess and perfectly fit that requirement. Yet there is another dimension to this story that deserves attention. Some commentators argue that Princess Anne's greatest strength is not experience, constitutional knowledge, or even public respect. According to those observers, Princess Anne's greatest strength may be the complete absence of personal ambition regarding the throne itself. Princess Anne serves the institution without appearing to seek anything from it. That characteristic creates a level of trust that can be extraordinarily valuable during uncertain periods. And perhaps that explains why both King Charles III and Prince William seem so comfortable with Princess Anne's growing influence. Rather than creating competition, Princess Anne appears to reduce pressure throughout the system. Princess Anne provides support for King Charles III. Princess Anne creates breathing room for Prince William. Princess Anne offers continuity for the monarchy during a period of significant transition. But what if Princess Anne's influence extends even further than most people realize? Because when we examine some of the most symbolic moments of King Charles III's reign, including highly visible gestures that many viewers overlooked entirely, a new picture begins to emerge. Those moments may reveal not only who King Charles III trusts most, but also how the future king, Prince William, could eventually shape the monarchy in ways that are already becoming visible today. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe and join the discussion below, because the final chapter of this story brings together King Charles III, Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Princess, and in a way that could fundamentally change how we understand the future direction of the British monarchy. As remarkable as Princess Anne's rise may appear, the most important question is not whether Princess Anne currently holds enormous influence within the royal family. The more significant question is what this development tells us about the future direction of the monarchy itself. Because when historians look back on periods of royal transition, they often discover that the most revealing moments were not the grand ceremonies everyone watched. The most revealing moments were the quieter decisions that signaled where trust truly resided. And that brings us to perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this entire story. When King Charles III has faced one of the most demanding periods of his reign, King Charles III has not responded by concentrating responsibility in a single place. Instead, King Charles III appears to be distributing responsibility among the individuals most capable of carrying it. Prince William, the future king, continues preparing for the enormous role that awaits. Catherine, Princess of Wales, continues rebuilding public engagement while remaining one of the most admired figures in modern royal life. Queen Camilla continues performing the visible and symbolic responsibilities associated with the position of queen consort. Yet standing quietly among all of those figures is Princess Anne, whose influence seems to grow precisely because Princess Anne never appeared interested in seeking it. That paradox may explain why so many royal observers have become captivated by this story. After all, modern public life often rewards visibility. Social media rewards visibility. Celebrity culture rewards visibility. Politics frequently rewards visibility. Yet Princess Anne built an entirely different model of influence. Princess Anne built influence through consistency, discipline, institutional knowledge, and decades of service performed without constant demands for recognition. In many ways, Princess Anne represents an older understanding of duty, one that resonates deeply with supporters of the monarchy who value commitment above publicity. But let me ask you something. Could that very quality be exactly what the monarchy needs during a period of uncertainty? At a time when public institutions across the world are facing growing scrutiny, could the quiet reliability of Princess Anne be more valuable than ever before? Many commentators believe the answer may be yes. What makes this even more interesting is the reaction of the next generation. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, does not appear threatened by Princess Anne's prominence. In fact, many royal analysts argue that Prince William benefits from Princess Anne's role. Every responsibility carried by Princess Anne today potentially gives Prince William additional time to prepare for tomorrow. Every burden shared by Princess and potentially strengthens the institution that Prince William will eventually inherit. And when Catherine, Princess of Wales, stands beside Prince William, the future king, the picture becomes even clearer. Rather than a monarchy centered around one individual carrying every responsibility, the royal family increasingly appears to be functioning as a team built around complementary strengths. King Charles III provides leadership. Prince William represents the future. Catherine, Princess of Wales, brings extraordinary public connection. Princess, and provides continuity and experience. Yet another question emerges from that observation. What happens when Prince William eventually becomes king? Some royal watchers believe Princess Anne's current role may serve as a blueprint for the future monarchy. Rather than relying exclusively on hierarchy, future royal leadership may increasingly rely on trusted figures with specialized strengths. If that happens, Princess Anne's influence could ultimately be remembered as more than a temporary response to current circumstances. Princess Anne's influence could become part of a larger transformation in how the monarchy operates during the 21st century. And perhaps that is why this story continues generating such discussion. On the surface, the story appears to be about one royal receiving greater responsibility. Beneath the surface, however, the story is really about trust. Trust earned over decades. Trust reinforced through service. Trust built slowly enough that many people barely noticed it until the moment it became impossible to ignore. When King Charles III looks toward the future, when Prince William prepares for eventual kingship, and when Catherine, Princess of Wales, continues helping shape the next chapter of the royal family, Princess Anne appears to occupy a unique position connecting the monarchy's past with its future. Few individuals possess that combination of experience, credibility, and institutional respect. So perhaps the biggest surprise is not that Princess Anne has become so influential. Perhaps the biggest surprise is that so many people overlook the signs for so long. Because when we examine the decades of service, the confidence shown by Queen Elizabeth II, the trust demonstrated by King Charles III, and the support visible from Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, a different conclusion begins to emerge. Princess Anne may not have risen suddenly at all. Princess Anne may simply have arrived at the role decades of preparation were always leading toward. And that brings us back to the central question that started this entire discussion. Was King Charles III merely responding to extraordinary circumstances, or was King Charles III revealing who the monarchy truly depends on when stability matters most? Is Princess Anne's current influence a temporary chapter in royal history, or does Princess Anne represent a model that could shape the future of the institution for years to come? What do you think? Do you believe Princess Anne has become the most trusted figure inside the royal family? Do you think Prince William, the future king, will continue relying on Princess Anne's experience in the years ahead? And do you see Princess Anne's growing influence as a sign of strength for the monarchy, or as evidence of a larger transition already underway? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this is one of the most fascinating royal developments in recent memory, and there are strong arguments on every side of the debate. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into King Charles III, Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Princess Anne, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for the next discussion, because the next chapter of the royal family story may already be unfolding. And as history has shown many times before, the most important royal developments are often the ones few people notice at first.